Hello and welcome to a special edition of the In the Money Players podcast, and also welcome to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. PTF back with you in the Brooklyn bunker to talk about opening day at Keeneland 2025. We've also got the first day of the rebranded, I'll tell for the guest on today's show. We used to call it Horseplayer Happy Hour. Now we call it the In the Money Horseplayer Tour playoffs. Those will be going on, but if you're not in those, don't worry. You can also get involved in horseplayers.com. We've got a direct feeder to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge where the house cut goes to charity. So there's some added value there. We welcome in now a man who you've seen and enjoyed his work in many places, including FanDuel TV and NBC, both of which places he will be this weekend. But I'm just so happy to welcome him back to these airwaves. Matt Bernier, what's going on?
I'm sorry I'm not showing up with a better appearance. The hair is a mess. I'm just kind of shiny with these lights on. I feel the only thing I've accomplished is we're going to Del Mar again for the Breeders' Cup in a few weeks. So Keeneland this weekend and all eyes on Southern California in about 5 weeks.
Will you be in Lexington for the duration? What are your travel plans these next few weeks?
No, I will be back and forth. I'll be there for 3 weeks, though. So opening weekend, and then the following 2, the week leading into the Breeders' Cup, I will be here at home. And then Sunday of Breeders' Cup week, I'll go out for, so all told, it's almost a full week that I'll be out in the San Diego area.
Oh, that's always a good place to be. I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of this weekend. NBC is going to have coverage of Keeneland all weekend long. We know we've got so many, more than you can count, Breeders' Cup win and your in races. We'll talk about those a little bit later. But in terms of your NBC responsibilities and broadcast windows, what can you tell us?
As far as I know, I could be wrong. So make sure you check your guides, whatever you're watching your stuff on. But Saturday and Sunday, I believe, are 4 to 6 windows. Now, they may be a combination of CNBC, NBC, Peacock. At this point, I don't even know either. So just take a look and see. And then opening day all day, Friday, FanDuel TV. And I'll be on the first half of those 2 cards Saturday and Sunday as well. So busy weekend coming up down there.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Doing double duty for the horse players out there. We know we appreciate that. Check local listings, as Matt says. Always great to check out the terrific wall-to-wall FanDuel TV coverage. And, of course, our friends at NBC do such a fantastic job. Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. I know this is a contest near and dear to you. One of the things that I think, people knew who you were, but I think in terms of your horse player bona fides, your big run there, we won't even say at this point how many years ago was something. I don't want to say put you on the map, but yeah, kind of.
I mean, credibility goes a long way when you can show that not only are you sitting there as a talking head, but you actually can back it up with, some actual actionable things, and that's not to, all I'll say is not everybody does that or can do that. And right. I pride myself on that. I brought it up. I had a chance to chat with Jay Privman when I was out at Del Mar Pacific Classic weekend, and he and I had chatted, and I made a comment when his horse, or the horse named after him, Privman, was running, I believe it was opening weekend. And just the fact that Jay early on, when we were still at the racing forum, you and I both, he given his stature, he didn't have to be as kind and open and welcoming as he was, or as supportive as he was. And he said, look, at the end of the day, you have credibility because we all know that you actually are doing it, what you're saying. You're not just saying things as lip service. So yeah, you try to maintain that element of, look, yeah, I'm saying I'm doing this. And I've even hit a point, Pete, I don't know how you feel. I hate to go down the WWE kind of rabbit hole. I'm not saying I've done a heel turn by any means, but I'm almost sitting here saying, here's what I'm doing. I actually don't necessarily want you to do it because you're killing my price. So I'm being selfish, whatever you want to say, but I am telling you what I'm doing. This happened in a pick 3 the other day at Churchill Downs. It should have paid $3,000 for $3. It paid $1,000. I was livid. But the good news is somebody else must have prospered as well. So, silver lining, but the long-winded way of saying, I think some credibility when you can kind of back it up with dollars. And I was fortunate enough to do that in the BCBC.
Matt Bernier with the elbow off the top rope, or is it the chair over the head? I don't know, but I love any wrestling analogy is good over here. Got the Jericho book back behind me here somewhere. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I want to talk about some of the races that are going to be part of these contests on horseplayers.com. Not coincidentally, we've also got some key trials for the Breeders' Cup happening. But why don't we look at the last 5? We'll dive through them quickly, obviously, to get Matt's fully formed thoughts. You'll come back and you'll watch him on TV. on FanDuel on Friday. But let's start off talking about the 6th race at Keeneland on opening day. Nice looking first level allowance, 3 and up, fillies and mares. We're going a mile on the turf. You have a quick high level thought about this one?
I do. And I think the thing for me with opening day, I don't know how you feel. There are a few races that I think are very, very top heavy in that the favorites look good. And I think this is one of them. I think in the stars, that run at Keeneland, at Kentucky Downs is spectacular. If you've listened to me for any period of time, I said it when we were doing a million pods together. I still say it now. I think there is, I don't know why. It's anecdotal, but I think there is real correlation between success at Kentucky Downs and success at Keeneland. She's had success really at both turf races that she ran in, the one at Churchill Downs and then the one at Kentucky Downs. I know mom was all dirt, but this is a filly that I think is only getting better with time. And on top of that, Pete, not only did she air at Kentucky Downs, she beat a good field. If I'm not mistaken, every single horse in the field has improved their buyer in their subsequent starts. So she beat them all by 7. I'd be willing to back her into a short number, probably just north of evens.
I get it completely. It is always tough. I mean, because of the class connection and the circuit, I definitely get the commonality between Kentucky Downs and Keeneland. I sometimes don't want to take too short a price on these kind of runners. One that I'm definitely going to have in my mix. I had a couple others to mention as well. The 2 here, the Queen, I thought made sense. That was a fast pace she was attending. And I'm hoping in this spot from the inside draw, maybe he can get position going forward, and then Erad can decide whether he wants to go on with it or maybe settle and stalk and pounce. Either way, I think she can work out a trip. And I love that that last race. I think there might even be more improvement for the switch than that bare form suggests. I'm taking a little bit of a guess that might be the case. So I'm very much going to be at the top of the market with the 2 and the 6. And I might throw in Dash and Diva, the 5 runner, for a penny. I thought that last race looked legit. I liked the way she finished on that testing Kentucky Downs course. Very different game here. But I think this is going to be a big price and maybe an interesting one in a contest if you're looking to throw something in there at a big price. Of course, I'm not allergic to taking shorter prices in contests either. Classic case of our old friend from the contest world, Paul Sherman. Play what you like. Is that your approach? I mean, I know you're not that involved these days in online pick and praise, but do you have a general thought on the type of price you're looking for, or is it all race to race for you?
I know it's all race to race. I mean, I haven't played much lately, but I did qualify for the event in Vegas at the beginning of next year, and that was
Nice.
a few months ago. And it was a pick and pray, and it was simply a matter of kind of going through. And it wasn't a day where I think I ended up with $66, $67,
Right.
but it was good enough to get in. And I think when you have a set slate, right, it's not as though you can really maneuver your way around it. You have to play these 10 or you have to play these 12, whatever it is. There does come a point in time, especially if you're limited to 2 entries. I mean, I know most of them now these days are up to 3, but I think there comes a point in time where you have to just be honest about it and say, either I'm swinging for the fences, acknowledging this is I think it's chalky, but I only need to be right once if everybody else kind of chalks out, or you go the other way and say maybe today's the day that I go 7 for 10 or 7 for 12, and even if the biggest price out of those is $10, maybe I can just kind of nickel and dime my way up the leaderboard, and the next thing you know, you either win outright or you backdoor your way in second or third.
JK's not here. We can say it. NHC. You're going to the
Okay,
NHC.
I didn't. Politics.
If
Pete.
Jonathan was here, I would have been all for the the other methodology. Breeders' Cup betting challenge coming up. These winning you're in races, such an important way for horse players to get a jump on what's happening. We've got 3 of them in a row, starting off with the grade 2 Phoenix here, winning you're in action for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Who do you like in this one?
I think this is a really hard race. It's not a big field, but I had a difficult time loving anyone in here. I think a lot of people are going to immediately go to world record. Now, I found it interesting. He was cross-entered in the turf race on Saturday. I don't know what to make of that, but Pratt's listed to ride here, so I'm going to assume this is the race that they show up in. I think he's a good horse. I don't think he's like a great horse. I think he can be beat on any given day. I thought it was kind of crazy that he went off favored when they brought him out to Del Mar earlier in the year, and now he shows up in this spot. The problem is Nakatomi, I'm not convinced is as good as he once was. And even when he was at his best, I don't know how good he actually was. Skelly has kind of become the whipping boy, where it's like, oh, it's Skelly. Get him back to Oaklawn, he'll win. He can't really do anything anywhere else. I think that's probably a bit harsh. And then beyond that, I suppose the New York bred, what you're talking about, it's got some fast races, maybe on the come up. I'm going to go back to the horse that I backed in his most recent start, and he ran very well. That's Hear My Song. He's 10-1. Is he an elite sprinter? Not by any stretch of the imagination. He's a nice horse. He shows up more often than not, specifically when he can get involved early on, and I think he can in this race as well. But my big hope for this race, Pete, is to glean some proper form from that run at Churchill Downs on September 13th. Because if Hear My Song and/or Skelly come back and run well, I'm all but singling Ben Tornado once we get out to Del Mar because he was spectacular. And I was against him when he came back to the races. I thought, man, he's been gone for a long time. He's being bet the way that he is on the heels of that one real true big effort in the Breeders' Cup. And he was awesome. I mean, he was spectacular at Churchill a few weeks ago.
Loved
If
it,
Hear My
too.
Song and/or Skelly run big, put a circle around Ben Tornado for the sprint.
Music to my ears, music to my ears. A horse I'm planning on focusing plenty of play around. We have a similar distrust of favorites in here. We just landed on a different alternative. I did go with the 2-runner. What you talking about? This horse has races that are fast enough to win, including that big run last time. And the run 2 back, I'm going to be very forgiving of. Those were very strange tactics we criticize often on the shows. The idea of trying to rate speed horses. I think that's what was going on there. The horse resented it and ran poorly. I'm not going to hold it against him. There's going to be a fast pace here for this horse to stalk. I think those are conditions that'll see him to good effect and should be a relatively good price against these other horses I don't fully trust. I'm going to throw in a little Hear Me Song as well.
I mean, it's not a race that, again, I don't have a super strong opinion, but you hit the nail on the head. Because of the other horses, the favorites in here that you may have reservations about, everybody else has to be a decent price.
Next up, we have the Grade 2 Jessamine Stakes. This one being a win and you're in race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And there's one that I have already sort of pinned my colors to the mast saying is going to be my top American runner anyway for that race. We'll see who ends up coming over from overseas. But I'm just a huge fan of the 12, Time to Dream. And I'm thinking, even with the tricky post, with her closing style and all the speed signed on, might just be able to find a spot to settle and come running. I'm with the favorite here. This is the kind of horse in a contest I wouldn't hate because I think that the post and people trying to be cute. It's not like she has some huge edge on figures either. I think a lot of people will try to be cute. I think you might actually get 2-1. I think I'd be happy to row in with that. What do you think of Time to Dream? Are you with or against in the Jessamine?
Couldn't agree more. I think that the draw, if you like her, is our best friend. And I think back to you a number of years ago at Keeneland with Hit It a Bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not mired out in 14 or whatever it is, he's odds on.
2-1. He at the outside, and maybe quite a bit shorter than that. Instead, we got 6 or 7. It was something crazy, right?
So with this filly, you mentioned that she doesn't have a real edge on figs, but I don't know how you couldn't be blown away with the first 2 starts. I mean, it was like she was running against donkeys, and I mean that in the kindest way. Those are nice horses that she humbled.
Yeah.
And I feel like when they're 2-year-olds, that can happen. I don't want to say frequently, but you can still get a really nice group of horses that down the road will all turn into something. And there just happens to be one right now that is just head and shoulders above everyone. And it might just be her in New York. I think what do you think about the draw situation? I don't personally care. I think it's much to do about not. I mean, if anybody can figure it out, it's a rad. But I think so many people will look at it and maybe not write her off immediately, but they'll look at it and say, I loved her, but now I don't. To me, I don't know. I think that's kind of a poor excuse, isn't it?
I think a lot of contest players are going to say they're going to see big favorite, they're going to see the post, and they're going to say, I think this is the kind of horse you're supposed to bet against. I think I hear somebody saying that, and it's hard to totally disagree. I just think that in these situations, race dynamics and race design are more important to me than post specifically. And what I mean by that is if this was a really good speed horse who wasn't necessarily fast enough to make the top and we thought was going to be hung out wide, 3 wide on both turns, if she was that type, then I would kind of agree with that attitude of, okay, the post could be a problem. But when you've got the rider who's in the irons and you could probably drop in almost anywhere I'm not going to say she could start behind the gate and win this. It's not that kind of an advantage,
Yeah.
but I think she's going to have ample opportunity. But because of all the speed and the way she runs, I think it's going to be fine. And I'm happy to go in with her. Todd Pletcher holding a strong hand there. He also holds a strong hand in the next race that we're going to talk about, the Grade 1 Alcibiades. I was shocked the other day on the podcast when Nick Tamaro and I were speaking, and he pointed out, I thought he was wrong, but he's right, that Todd Pletcher has not won a Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He has won an Alcibiades. He won one with Candide back in 23. He's got a very good chance to win this one, but and we'll talk about this race first, but I just thought I had that in mind talking about Tommy Joe coming out of the last race, because to me, she was so impressive. It had me already thinking about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. What about her? Can you poke any holes in her?
No, I can't. And she's another one of those that it's going to be a really short number that I'm not interested in trying to beat her. If she loses, it's one of those instances, Pete. I've come to terms with it that sometimes unforeseen things are going to happen. And whether they just don't fire, maybe she doesn't like 2 turns, maybe she just doesn't like Keeneland, whatever it may be. But going into that, I can't. There's nothing for me to project that happening. Right. All I can do is go off of the paper and the tape. And those 2 things have been sparkling. So similar to Todd's filly on the turf, at least with the turf race, I'll hear the argument about the draw. And that maybe she doesn't have any kind of a massive number edge. In this race, she checks the box as far as visuals. The distance, I don't think, is going to be a problem. The figs, she frankly towers over the field. Her main competition is Percy's Bar. She just beat her by 7.
Right.
And
this is a worse situation for Percy's Bar than that one was.
Yeah.
Because here, Tommy Joe's controlling speed.
It's a race that I know it's a very uninteresting piece, and she'll be probably 1-5, I would think. I know Nick made her 2-5. I think probably right around there, 1-5, 2-5. I have no knocks. I think she goes out there and wins.
I'll have a full horse-by-horse analysis of this one and several other races this weekend over at atheraces.com. Easiest way to make sure you get the links to all my written stuff and really everything we do at the In the Money Media Network is to sign up for our free email, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. And in there, in my verdict, this is at the races, so it's people who have the ability to bet fixed odds. I said, if you get 1-3, get very involved. Now, I don't know that you will. Probably you're right, more like 1-5, but that's how I saw it. I do think you can probably cold exacta over Percy's Bar. And I don't mind a little goofy for third, Onesie Weather, the 6 runner, just because I was thinking this is a horse that might have a little bit of ability and just be running late when others are getting tired. So that was my try idea here. Not a race I plan on betting heavily unless something surprising happens. But yeah, 3-1-6 for me.
What do you think we can get for a Todd double between the Jessamine?
That's a great question, because that's
can you get $4?
Yeah,
you get 4-1.
That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. 4-1 is going to be hard. But you might get $3. Pay attention to that one. I think that would still be good value, because I think
I'm not someone that likes to bang really short doubles, but in this case, I don't know. I mean, if you could tell me that I could get 3.5 to 4-1, I think I would take it.
Let's look ahead for just a second to the juvenile fillies. We're going to assume, and it is an assumption, but we're going to assume that Tommy Joe does what we think she's going to do. What about this stat? What about this Todd Pletcher hoodoo in this race? The fact that he hasn't won it. He's had 3 or 4 seconds and 2/3. He's done everything but win it, but he hasn't won it. Would that hold you back at all from supporting Tommy Joe in the juvenile fillies?
No. I mean, unless some other girl pops up and is, competitive, and maybe the draw is an issue or whatever it may be. I think a lot of these, and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone, I think a lot of these numbers and a lot of these talking points, they're just that. They're numbers and talking points. And then suddenly, I go up back to when Phil Mickelson, he had never won a major, but everybody knew the ability was there. And then finally he wins the Masters and then rips off something stupid like 3 of the next 6. And it's like, okay, well, that was much to do about not, huh? Like a lot of waste, a lot of hot air.
Yeah, there is so much. We don't, human brains like to find patterns. We're so good at finding patterns. We even find them when they're not there. And it's a tough way to live, to accept how much of everything is governed by randomness. But a lot of these trainer stats are very much governed by randomness. Not to
Yeah,
get all
and
philosophical on you, but
no,
hey,
it's true. It's true. I mean, and even I feel bad sometimes on air when I throw out a stat, especially if it's a smaller sample. If it's a sample
yes.
of 12 to 15, and they're 7 for 15, I go, it's a beautiful number right now. I go, I think 15. You're starting to look at it and think maybe there is a little something there, but then again, I know statistically 15 is a fly on the earth. Doesn't mean anything. So you can do whatever you'd like with numbers. I put it to answer the question. No, I would have no hesitation if she does what I think she does on Friday.
Let's talk about the 10th race, 2-year-old fillies, maiden special weights. Not my favorite type of race to end a card like this. It might send me to bets like the double and the pick 3 that we talk about, rather than having to bet some of these first-time starters blind. But don't get me wrong, once I can see a double, there's a good chance I'll be getting involved here. On paper, for me, I was pretty interested in the 8 Miss Watermelon, the lone sibling one on debut. That was a good-looking last workout. Jonathan Thomas can have one ready. I'm definitely going to have plenty of the Forerunner, Beach Ballad in horizontal, whatever type of horizontal bets I do, even if they're just the double. With the double, you can at least get some sense of how they're being bet. And I thought, tell me if you think I'll often regret these words when I say them. I was thinking you could potentially oppose who seemed like it was going to be the Chad Brown favorite, number 10, a market chill in this spot. So I was going to mess around with a couple of the others to close things out on this opening day. How do you see the lucky last?
Yeah, I think this is the hardest race of the 5, frankly,
Yeah.
because you can go so many ways and there's such little true information or form to go off of. I'm kind of in line with you with market chill. She can certainly win. I don't think she has to win this at a short price. You brought up Miss Watermelon. The pedigree is there. I think the most interesting thing of this filly on Friday is going to be this is Dave Portnoy's horse. And
Right.
once all the new, I mean, I think Nick on, I think at face value, 8-1 seems reasonable. I think she's going to probably open up 5-2.
I
Now,
I forgot about that. Yes.
so, and I don't know if she should, maybe she should be 5-2. I don't know. But
It might not be smart money we're seeing in the double, is what you're saying.
yeah, that would be the only thing. I would just keep an eye out, and she may
Yeah.
still run very well. I think just from a gambling standpoint, it's something that you have to factor in when you look at her.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought the 2 Empress New Groove offered a bit of appeal. Adam Rice and Arad, when they team up, they don't do it often, but 4 for 10, and 8 of them have hit the board. Which again, going back to small sample sizes, so do with that what you will. But I think when it's Arad for a Barnes that he doesn't usually ride for, you have
There's
to kind of,
signal there. There's
yeah,
a
you got
little
to
signal
perk up a
there.
little bit.
Yeah.
And then, did you have an opinion on the outside horse, assuming the AEs don't get in? Scarlet Wave, I thought was
Yeah.
interesting. Now, the outside draw is brutal, but the family has had turf success. They've won early, maybe not right out of the box, but many of them have done pretty well early on. And there's been a fair bit of speed with the siblings. So there's a part of me that wonders if this filly, if she kind of just breaks running from the outside, and it wouldn't be the first time in a 2-year-old race that, I feel like these 2-year-old races either go one of two ways, where you get 3 or 4 of them that just go kind of crazy early on and it melts down and somebody from out of the clouds comes, or they all get content out there looking around, whatever it may be. And then the first 3 or 4 just kind of scoop clear by themselves and nobody goes and gets them. So Riley Mott, I continue to be impressed by. And I just think Scarlet Wave, if she's right around 15s, and I think she might be, I think she's worth a buck or two.
Yeah, that's not crazy at all. I think my first thought was a sort of a knee jerk. Riley Mott, typically they're going to need one. Post a little bit tricky. Only, the siblings had plenty of runners, but just not that it's bad. 1 of 7 winning first out. That's not like some terrible stat. Another 3 of them hit the board. So, I mean, you could sort of read that either way. But in my quick reading of the race, I was thinking needs one. But I mean, we're talking about a $775,000 horse. We're talking about a very interesting ownership group that
Yeah.
I don't imagine Riley Mott has trained many for the combination of Resolute and Coolmore. I mean, that's just wild to see that partnership being put together. Especially interesting given all the business Coolmore do with John Stewart's arch rival, Mr. Rapoli. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going. It's fascinating. It's just a fascinating horse who I will now not be leaving off of tickets.
Yeah, and I feel like we've seen the turn. There have been so many of the the kin of these, Hall of Fame trainers and these giant names that we've seen, whether it be Will Walden, whether it be Riley, whether it be Miguel. They're all just off and running. And I apologize if I've missed anybody else in that group, but I just think of those three immediately.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I'm most taken by with all three of them, not only are they young guys, but they can do everything. Turf
Yeah.
sprint, turf route, dirt route, doesn't matter. They know what they're doing, and no surprise, they grew up around them.
Yep. It is an exciting generation of young horsemen. I've had the pleasure of knowing Riley a little bit. I don't think he didn't even know who I was, but being around him enough to have known for quite a while that he knew what was up. And it's been great seeing the success he's had with those couple of graded stakes winners, including Argos. And you mentioned Will Walden. Little sneak preview. Get ready. Next week we're going to have him as a guest on the Lead podcast we do with the Jockey Club, talking about the stable recovery program and the amazing work they're doing to help people get into the horse racing business and into recovery and changing their lives for the better through the healing power of horses. It's a great story. I encourage everybody to check that one out. All right, we're basically out of time, but I'm selfish, so we're going to do one more question here. First off, want to remind people, horseplayers.com on Friday. We've got a direct qualifier to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, and the house cut from that is going to go to Thoroughbred Aftercare in the form of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and also Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga, our charity partner. Matt, I know you're going to be on TV. You've got FanDuel TV coverage Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're going to be on NBC. Check local listings, but we believe about 4 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. There's all these great Breeders' Cup win you're in races. Do you have a pick or two for us in any of those events?
With the caveat that there are still figs that I need to see and a couple other things, but there are 2 horses in 2 races on Saturday that I'm bad about this, Pete. Sometimes they're in my head and I wait and they show up and I go, but don't need to do any more homework. I know what I'm doing. Speaking of Will Walden, in the 10th on Saturday, the Coolmore Mile. What do you think of Rhetorical, who is, I know he's a New York bred. I know he is in the deepest of the deep end. This horse has never done anything wrong, and he's been awesome in all of his races. I know he likes it at Saratoga. I guess that might be your only kind of cause for pause, but then he also has a 5-length win at Aqueduct. So I just remember when I saw him debut, I said, this thing could be a freak. And here we are. He just continues to do no wrong. What kind of price is he going to be? He can't be anything too short in this race.
No, there's so many. I mean, I haven't done my full work on this one yet, but I would be surprised if you've got
20
serious runners in here. Yeah, 15 was the number that popped into my mind, but it's going to be something like that.
So he's a horse that even if I end up going a different direction, which I don't really think I'm going to, I'll have some sort of a double alive into him. Or more importantly, I believe this is the wrap-up leg of the Keeneland All-Turf Pick 3. He'll be the kind of lone A that I'll just press up in a big, big way. And hopefully leading into that, as far as that Turf Pick 3 is concerned, the other grade 1 on turf, the First Lady, I don't know what happened. She's been gone for a long, long time. And if you just look at the paper, she's way too slow. Nanda Dea, the tape on Nanda Dea is spectacular. She had no business winning that run at the fairgrounds. Her run at Keeneland was really, really good. That was last fall. So she's run twice in a year. Do with that what you will. Nacho Correas has been known to pop in some of these big races in the past. Jose, the fact that he sticks around. If you haven't seen the tape of the fairgrounds race, I encourage you to do so. It was an impossible run for her to win. She did so. I think they were trying to get to the Philly race in April, and something may have gone wrong. Oh, something did go wrong. You don't put a horse away for that long. Nanda Dea, she'll probably be a pretty good number. I can't imagine not betting her in this spot.
I remember Frank McGoey this winter, who comes on our In the Money Plus shows, talking about how impressed he was with her, and we saw why on the racetrack. Definitely a couple of interesting ideas at a price. And don't forget, there's also an all-graded stake pick 5 at Keeneland on Saturday. Get involved in that as well. Good stuff. Any closing thoughts for you, my friend, before we get out of here?
Well, yeah, I got a question for you. Everybody seems to be asking and throwing it around. Like, who do you like in the Classic?
Oh, I have sort of gone hither and yon with this. I am now accepting that despite what a short price Sovereignty is going to be, he is not a horse I'm willing to oppose. He will be an A on every ticket, and I think I'm going to wait and see what's happening with the market in terms of who the top pick is. Sovereignty will be my first or second pick. I mean, internationally, have you seen how crazy short he is? I mean, we're talking about 3-2 type prices on him. So if you want to give me fierceness at 7-1, I don't think I can make Sovereignty the top pick over 7-1 fierceness, 5-1 Sierra Leone. It'll be one of those three that I end up picking, but I am not against Sovereignty. I think he might just be special, and I'm not going to be taking any stands. It just might be the kind of thing where one of the other prices is just too appealing for me to make that like an official selection at how short these numbers are. How about you?
Yeah, that was my only thought. Is it's going to probably come down to the off odds or what we think they're going to be. But all along, it's not to say that I wasn't a believer. I always thought Sovereignty was a very good horse, but just the progression that he has made over the last, I guess, from the Belmont on, right? And I know they were all at Saratoga, and that's what people want to knock. I think that's dumb. I mean, he's run and won everywhere. The tip off should have been when Mott had this horse win at Gulfstream. That's the tip off.
Yes.
And, that horse wasn't supposed to win that race, and he did. But I have always loved him, and I know he's been a bit of an enigma. But there is still that part of me that thinks that Fierceness's best game still might be good enough to beat Sovereignty. I guess the tough thing is, and this is a big sort of projection to throw this out. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility Sovereignty moves forward again. And
right.
that's scary. If you're buying into the figs, let's just use the buyer kind of as the most common tool that people talk about. If he moves forward off of 115, and the form of the Travers, I mean the two that he humbled came back and earned a 100 and a 102. They were in Albany when he was crossing the wire. Like, he was in a different area code. So I think I've actually turned the corner in that logo. We've talked about it from a gambling standpoint. I kind of want this to be a special horse. I want him to take another step and pop something stupid like a 125 and beat an exceptional group of horses, because that's what this is. Somebody the other day asked me about Baeza. And I said, this is going to sound like the most backhanded compliment you've ever heard, but I don't think Baeza has a chance. And he just earned a 105 in a grade 1. Yeah. I mean, this is a really nice group of horses, but he might be a horse of a different color than Sovereignty.
We need to talk about Forever Young for at least a minute, because you got to figure on his best day, thinking back to Saudi, I don't think he could be ruled out either. I mean, more of a B type, but I mean, I'm not convinced he can't win.
I can already see us getting to Breeders' Cup Saturday, and I see the odds, and Forever Young's like 10-1, and I throw it all out, and I go, that's the pick, that's the bet, because I'm with you. I mean, we know what his best is. I mean, his best is really, really good, and I'd love to know, is it this weekend that he's running or next weekend? Did he run already?
I'm embarrassed to say. I think we would have seen it. I don't do much social media. I don't think you do either, but think we would have. I think that one would have bled through. Last year it was around this time, but it was a weekday. Anyway, we'll get that information.
But I mean, he's absolutely. I give him a fair chance in there as well. I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, he's danced every dance, and with the exception of Dubai, I mean, and that was after that just monstrosity of a run against, Romantic Warrior, whatever his name was. I can't remember, but I mean, I just hope they all get there. It looks like it's gonna be a fabulous race.
Fingers crossed. Can't wait to talk to you out in Del Mar. We'll bother you before then. We'll do another. We'll hook you for a monster pod or something, because it's always such a pleasure. I miss you, buddy. It's great to have you here, and thanks so much for joining us.
Anytime you need me, Pete, I make time for it.
That's the best. Love to hear that, Matt. Matt was the original co-host of the old DRF Players podcast. He single-handedly launched the YouTube channel. We would be nowhere without you, my friend. Really great getting back in touch. And just want to remind folks one more time, bet Keeneland, watch on NBC, watch Matt on FanDuel, and also play on horseplayers.com, where you can win seats to fabulous tournaments like the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. You win all your photos.